It's a Tuesday evening. I'm standing in a rooftop bar in downtown Chicago, wearing a dress I bought with money I earned. Money from the business I built, the one that crossed 6 figures 8 months ago. I'm laughing, genuinely laughing. My cheeks hurt from it. And then I see him. He's across the room. He hasn't seen me yet. And I literally watch the exact moment his eyes land on mine. He freezes, and I smile. Not a small, nervous smile, not a please don't make this weird smile, a real, full, I own this room smile. Because I do. Because I've worked 3 years, 3 exact, brutal, beautiful years to own this room, to own myself. He starts walking toward me. I can already see the script unfolding behind his eyes. The apology, the you look amazing, the I've thought about you. And here's what I want to tell you. Before we go back to the beginning, before I tell you about the night I sat on the bathroom floor at 2 a.m. reading a text message 300 times trying to make it mean something different, I didn't fight back. I didn't send the unhinged voice memos. I didn't show up at his door. I didn't blast him on social media. And believe me, I thought about it. I did something far more terrifying. I got quiet, and I got to work. I didn't scream. I didn't fight back. I just became someone they never expected. And that is what this video is about. Hey, welcome back, or welcome for the first time. I'm so glad you're here. Before we dive in, I need to say something clearly. This story isn't about revenge. I know that word is in the thumbnail. I know it might be why you clicked, and that's okay. I clicked on videos like this too at my lowest point, desperately searching for some story that would make me feel like the hurt wouldn't last forever. But what I discovered is that real revenge, the kind that actually feels like something, isn't about making someone else suffer. It's about becoming. It's about building a life so full, so genuinely yours, that the person who once made you feel small becomes irrelevant. Not invisible, not erased, just irrelevant. And that's what I'm going to walk you through today. My full story. No filter, no highlight reel, the ugly parts, the embarrassing parts, the I almost gave up parts, and then the transformation that changed every single thing. If this is your first time here, hi, I'm so glad the algorithm brought you to me today. Hit subscribe if you want more stories and self-development content like this. And if you've been here a while, you already know. Let's get into it. Pause. Let me take you back. 3 years before that rooftop moment. 3 years before the business, the confidence, the dress. I was 26 years old, living in a 1-bedroom apartment I could barely afford, working a job I was deeply mediocre at, and I knew it, not because anyone told me so, I just knew. The way you know when something doesn't fit, but you wear it anyway because it's what you have. I had a communications degree from a school nobody asked about, a job doing administrative work at a mid-sized marketing firm, and a very deep, very comfortable belief that people like me, girls from small towns, girls without connections, girls who weren't naturally magnetic or extraordinary, just made do. That was the framework I was operating inside. You make do. You find a person who's decent, you stay. You be grateful. His name was Daniel. We met at a friend's birthday dinner when I was 23. He was charming in that effortless, low-key way that makes you feel like you're the lucky one. He remembered details, my coffee order, my sister's name, the name of the town I grew up in. He texted first. He made plans. He was, by every metric I knew how to measure, a good boyfriend. For about a year and a half. And then something shifted. It was gradual. That's the cruelest thing about it. If he'd been suddenly terrible, I would have left. But it was slow, like a slow leak. The texts got shorter, the plans got canceled more often than they were kept. He got busy, he got stressed. And I, brilliant, perceptive, self-aware me, decided the most logical response was to shrink. to ask for less, to need less, to become less inconvenient. I started apologizing for things that weren't my fault. I started rearranging my schedule around his moods. I stopped mentioning my goals, because somewhere along the way I'd picked up the message, never stated directly, that my ambitions made him uncomfortable, that my excitement about things made him feel like I was asking him to match an energy he didn't have. So I turned it down. And here's what I want you to hear, because this is the part I've never said out loud before. I thought that was love. I genuinely, truly believed that loving someone meant making yourself smaller so they could feel bigger. I thought that was maturity. I thought the women who kept their standards and their self-respect were the difficult ones, the ones who ended up alone. I was 26 years old, and I thought shrinking was wisdom. There were things said during those 3 years that I still hear sometimes. Not often, but sometimes. He told me once, and I want to be really precise about this because I remember exactly where we were sitting at his kitchen table and exactly what we were eating, which was takeout Thai food. He told me that I was a lot to handle sometimes. Not mean, not yelled, just said, casually, like it was an observation. And I nodded. I said, yeah, I know, I'm working on it. Working on being less. There was another time when I'd gotten some positive feedback at work. My manager had complimented a presentation I'd put together, said I had a real instinct for storytelling, and I came home excited, genuinely lit up, and I told Daniel about it. He said, "That's cool, babe," and kept scrolling his phone. And I remember thinking, he's right, it's not a big deal. Why am I making it a big deal? I talked myself out of my own joy in about 45 seconds. Do you know how many times I did that? How many small victories I minimized because the person I was with didn't have space for them? I don't know the number, but it was a lot. And then came the night that changed everything. Not because it was dramatic, because it was the quietest kind of devastating. It was a Wednesday, October. I know it was October because I remember looking out the window at the leaves and thinking they looked exactly like how I felt, like something that used to be alive was now in the process of letting go. I'd been trying to reach him for 2 days. 2 days of texts that said delivered but not read. 2 days of calls that went to voicemail. I'd cycled through every rational explanation. He was sick, he was overwhelmed, something happened, he needed space. I'd had this exact conversation with myself probably 50 times over the previous 6 months, whenever his communication went cold. But this time, the silence stretched. A week. Then 10 days. I went to his apartment. I'm not proud of this, but I went. I stood outside and I could see his lights on through the window, and I knocked. No answer. I stood there for what felt like a very long time, and then I walked back to my car and I sat in the driver's seat and I did not cry. That's the part that scared me. I didn't cry. I just felt empty, like something had been slowly draining for so long that now the tank was just flat out. That night, I got a text. 6 words. I think we need space. Sorry. Pause. 3 years. 3 years of rearranging, shrinking, apologizing, hoping, adjusting. 6 words. I think we need space. Sorry. I read that text 300 times, maybe more. I'd close the app and open it again, like the words might rearrange themselves into something that made more sense. I slept with my phone on my chest, like I was waiting for a follow-up that never came. He never called, he never explained, he just stopped. And that's ghosting. That's what it is. Not a confrontation, not a breakup, not the dignity of a conversation, just silence where a person used to be. I spent the first 3 weeks doing everything wrong. I won't romanticize the grief. I barely ate, I canceled plans, I replayed every conversation, looking for the exact moment I'd failed him. I made a list, an actual handwritten list of all the ways I'd been too much and all the ways I'd been not enough, as if I could triangulate the precise version of myself that would have made him stay. And here's the thing about rock bottom that nobody tells you. It doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes rock bottom looks like a Tuesday morning where you're standing in the shower fully dressed in your work clothes because you forgot to undress first, and the water's going cold and you realize you haven't thought a single purposeful thought in 3 days. That was my rock bottom. Not a movie moment, just a Tuesday, just cold water, just the slow, awful recognition that I had made myself so small for so long for someone who had left without even looking back, that I had genuinely lost track of who I was outside of him. And that's when everything started to change. The decision didn't come from a motivational video. I want to be honest about that. It didn't come from a podcast or a book or a best friend sitting me down and delivering a speech. It came from something much quieter. It came from a night, maybe 5 weeks after the text, when I was sitting in my living room, on the floor for some reason, with the lights off. Not dramatically, I just hadn't turned them on. And I was thinking about what the next 10 years of my life would look like if nothing changed. Not what I wanted, what the trajectory pointed to. And I ran it out. I really ran it out. Same job, same apartment, same belief that I was someone who made do. Another version of Daniel, eventually, because I'd never examined why I'd accepted so little in the first place. More shrinking, more apologizing for existing too loudly. And something happened in my body that I can only describe as a refusal. Not an explosion, not a rage spiral, just a very quiet, very deep no. Not no to Daniel. I was already past being angry at Daniel. It was a no to the version of myself that had allowed it. It was a no to the story I'd been living inside, the one that said girls like me don't get extraordinary things, the one that said wanting more was arrogance, the one that said being easy to leave was the same thing as being worthy of love. No. I'm going to be really transparent about what happened next, because I think there's a version of this story that skips the messy middle and goes straight to the triumphant rise, and that's not actually helpful to anyone. The messy middle is the story. That's the part that builds the foundation. The first thing I did, before the business, before the gym, before any of the things that would eventually become my transformation, was go to therapy. I know that's not the dramatic, inciting moment, but it was the most important one. I found a therapist through my insurance, a woman named Dr. Reyes, who in our first session asked me one question that I did not have an answer to. What do you actually want? Not what you think you're supposed to want. What do you actually want your life to look like? I sat there for a long time, and then I said, and I'm going to be embarrassed forever about this, I said, I don't know. I've never really let myself think about it. She wrote something down, she didn't react, and then she said, okay, let's start there. We spent the first 2 months just excavating. That's the only word for it. Pulling up old beliefs I'd never examined, patterns I'd inherited from watching the women in my family navigate their relationships, all the places I'd confused self-sacrifice with virtue. It was deeply uncomfortable. There were sessions I left feeling worse than when I'd arrived. There were weeks where I cried in my car in the parking lot before I could drive home. But every week, I also left with something I hadn't had before. Clarity. Tiny pieces of it, a little at a time. About 6 weeks into therapy, I started writing. Not for anyone, not a blog, not social media, just a document on my laptop that I titled, embarrassingly, Who I Am When No One Is Watching. I'd write in it every morning before work, 15, 20 minutes, just whatever came up, my real opinions, things I wanted, ideas I'd had but never said out loud because they felt too audacious. I wrote down once, I think I could run my own business someday. And then I looked at it for a minute, and my first instinct was to delete it. I didn't delete it. That was day 1. Let me tell you about the grind, because I think we have to talk about it honestly. I did not wake up the next morning and become a different person. I want to be so clear about that. Transformation, real transformation, is not a moment. It is a practice. It is 1,000 small choices made in private when no one is watching, when it would be so much easier not to. Here's what the first 3 months actually looked like. I started getting up at 6 a.m., not because I'm a morning person. I am categorically not a morning person, but I realized that the first hour of my day was the only hour that fully belonged to me, before email and other people's needs and the general noise of existing, and I was wasting it by sleeping through it. That first hour became sacred. 20 minutes of movement, nothing impressive, a walk sometimes, a YouTube workout video in my living room, but 20 minutes of doing something that said to my body, "You're worth taking care of." Then 15 minutes of writing, then 20 minutes of learning something. I started with a free online copywriting course, not because I had a plan, because when I'd looked at that note I'd written, "I think I could run my own business someday," the thing I kept coming back to was, "I'm good at words." My manager had said I had an instinct for storytelling. I'd always been the friend who wrote the toasts and the cards and the emails that people forwarded. What if that was something? I want to stop here and address the thing I know some of you are thinking. This sounds like a lot of positivity. What about the days you wanted to quit? Oh, I wanted to quit constantly. There was a day in month 2 where I woke up, sat at my desk to write, and typed exactly 1 sentence, decided it was garbage, closed my laptop, and went back to bed. There was a week in month 4 where I missed every single one of my morning routines because the grief came back. Not for Daniel specifically, but for the time, for the 3 years, for the version of myself I would never get back. And I just felt so behind, like everyone else my age was building things, and I was only just now learning what I actually wanted. Dr. Reyes has a phrase she uses: "Progress isn't linear, but the direction matters." I came back to that a lot. You don't have to be consistent every day, you just have to keep the direction. At month 3, I started taking on small freelance writing projects. Copy for a friend's small business website, a newsletter for a local nonprofit. Tiny, paid almost nothing, but I was building a portfolio, and more importantly, I was building the habit of believing that my work had value. That sounds small. It was enormous. Because one of the things that had kept me small for so long was the belief that my skills were ordinary, that what came naturally to me couldn't possibly be worth paying for, because if it were easy for me, it must be easy for everyone. The freelance work cracked that open. People paid me, and then they came back and paid me again, and then they referred me to someone else. By month 6, I was making an extra $800 a month on the side. Not life-changing money, but proof. Actual, tangible, undeniable proof that the thing I was building was real. I remember depositing that first $800 into my savings account and sitting in my car afterward and thinking, he told me I was a lot to handle, and I just made $800 from being exactly as much as I am. I also want to talk about the support system I was building, because this matters and it doesn't get talked about enough. I started being more intentional about who I spent time with. This didn't mean cutting people dramatically, it just meant I started noticing who I felt more like myself around, and who I felt like I had to perform or diminish for, and I started quietly investing more in the first group. I found a small online community of women who were building freelance businesses. Nothing fancy, a Discord server someone had shared in a Reddit thread, but we'd check in every week, share wins, share struggles, ask questions, and for the first time in years, I was in a space where ambition wasn't a red flag, where wanting more wasn't a lot. I cannot overstate how much that mattered. You cannot transform in a vacuum. You need mirrors that show you who you're becoming, not just who you were. Pause. There's one more thing I need to tell you about the decision period, and it's the thing that's hardest to explain. Somewhere around month 5, I stopped processing the end of the relationship as something that had happened to me. I started looking at it as something that had happened for me. Not in a toxic positivity, everything happens for a reason kind of way. I don't actually believe the universe arranged for Daniel to ghost me so I could find myself. That gives him too much credit and the universe too much plot structure. I mean something more practical. The relationship had ended. That was done. I could not change it. What I could choose was whether to let it be the period at the end of my sentence or the comma before the next chapter. Pause. I chose the comma. Every day, sometimes multiple times a day, I chose "this is the comma." And that choice, made quietly, in private, in the dark, with no audience and no reward, is what the next 2 years were built on. And that's when everything started to change. I want to give you the actual timeline because specifics matter. Specifics make this real, and I think vague transformation stories are almost useless. So here's what the numbers looked like. Month 6, $800 a month freelance income. Regular therapy, morning routine holding at about 5 days out of 7. Month 9, $1,800 a month freelance income. I'd taken an online course in brand copywriting, $297, which felt terrifying to spend at the time, and turned out to be the best investment I'd ever made. I had 4 regular clients. Month 12, I'd saved $6,000. I was writing for 7 clients. I was starting to turn down work that didn't pay what I wanted to be paid. And that last one, the part about turning down work, I need to pause on that. Because there's a moment in the process of learning your worth where you're tested, where the universe or the market or the situation essentially says, okay, do you actually believe this, or is it just something you're telling yourself? My test came at month 11. A client, my biggest client at the time, responsible for about $600 of my monthly income, asked me to cut my rate by 30%. He framed it as tightening budgets. He implied, without quite saying it directly, that I was lucky to have the work. Old me would have said yes immediately. Old me would have said yes and then felt guilty for even hesitating. But 11 months of quiet, private, intentional work had done something to my nervous system. I sat with his email for about 6 hours. I wrote 3 different responses. I deleted 2 of them. The one I sent said, "I understand budgets are tight. My rate reflects the value I deliver, and I'm not able to reduce it. I'd love to keep working together at the current rate, but I completely understand if that doesn't work for you." He didn't respond for 4 days.
Those 4 days were one of the hardest tests of the entire journey. I second-guessed everything. I calculated how long my savings would last without his income. I almost sent a follow-up walking it back. I didn't. On day 4, he wrote back and said he'd found the budget. I want you to feel that because I want you to understand what had changed. A year earlier, I was apologizing for existing in a relationship. Now, I was holding a boundary in my professional life, quietly, without drama, without performance, and someone was meeting me there. This is the invisible transformation, the one that happens inside before it shows up outside. The visible changes were coming too, but the invisible ones are the ones that last. By month 14, I had a decision to make. My day job had become something I was genuinely struggling with. Not because it was terrible, it was fine. But it was fine the way a waiting room is fine. You're not there because you want to be. You're there because you're waiting for something else. I could see the something else now. It had a shape, it had a number, $5,000 per month, and a vision, my own copywriting and brand storytelling agency. Small, just me, maybe eventually 1 or 2 contractors, serving small business owners who had something real to say, but didn't know how to say it. I wasn't there yet, but I could see it. I made a plan, not a vague, someday plan, a real plan, with milestones and a timeline. I wrote it in my laptop journal on a Sunday morning, in the same document where months earlier I'd written, "I think I could run my own business someday," and almost deleted it. I gave myself 18 months. The next phase of the work was different from the first phase. The first phase had been about survival and excavation, getting through the grief, building basic habits, discovering what I was capable of. This phase was about construction. I started networking, intentionally, with a plan. Now, I know networking sounds like a word invented to make introverts miserable, and I am indeed an introvert, but I reframed it for myself. Not networking, but relationship building. Not
showing up to collect contacts, but showing up to find the people doing interesting things, asking genuine questions, and being useful. I went to 4 local business events in month 15. I was terrified at 3 of them, but I showed up and I practiced, and I got better. At one of those events, I met a woman, her name is Mara, who ran a small PR firm. We got coffee 3 weeks later. I wasn't pitching her, I was just genuinely interested in how she'd built what she'd built. She became one of my most important professional relationships. She referred me to 3 clients in my first year of officially being a business. I want to pause here and talk about something nobody in the glow-up story genre talks about: the loneliness of the in-between. When you're transforming, genuinely transforming, not performing transformation for an audience, there is a period where you've left who you were, but you haven't fully arrived at who you're becoming, and that gap is lonely. Your old friends might not fully understand what you're doing or why you're changing. The new version of you isn't yet anchored enough to feel stable. You're in transition, and transition doesn't have a community. I had some really hard nights in months 14 through 18, not because things were going badly. Things were going well, but well can feel isolating when you're used to suffering in ways that are at least familiar. Dr. Reyes called it the discomfort of becoming. She said most people quit during this phase not because they've failed, but because the discomfort of growth feels too much like the discomfort of loss, and we mistake one for the other. I didn't quit. I'm going to say that simply because I think there's a version of this story that undersells how close I came. Month 16, I almost took a better-paying full-time job at another company. Stability, benefits, a title that sounded impressive. I turned it down.
I talked it through with Dr. Reyes. I talked it through with Mara. I wrote about it in the journal. And I came to this. Taking that job would have been fear in a good disguise. Fear of the uncertain, fear of claiming space, fear of betting on myself and possibly losing. And I was done making decisions from fear. Month 18, I put in my notice. I walked into my manager's office on a Monday morning, the same manager who had once told me I had an instinct for storytelling, and I told her I was leaving to run my own business. She looked at me for a moment, and then she said something I think about often. I always thought you were playing too small here. Month 19, I officially launched as a solo agency. I had 9 clients lined up from the freelance work. My income that first month as a full business owner was $4,200. Not $5,000, not yet, but close enough to taste it. I want to tell you about the internal shift, because this is the part that I think matters more than any revenue number. Somewhere around month 20, I realized I had stopped caring what Daniel thought. Not in a performance, not in the way where you say, I'm over it, but you still check their Instagram every night. In the actual, genuine, cellular way. I would go entire weeks without thinking about him at all. And when I did think about him, there was no ache, no heat, just a fact, a thing that had happened, a chapter that was finished. More importantly, I realized I had stopped caring what anyone thought in the anxious, compulsive way I used to. Not that I didn't value feedback or other people's opinions, but the terror of judgment, the thing that had made me shrink, apologize, dim myself, that was gone.
Or not gone, but transformed into something more like, I hear you, I'll consider it, and then I'll decide. The people who'd once made me feel small started noticing the change before I'd announced anything. There was a work friend, someone I'd stayed in loose touch with after leaving the firm, who texted me out of nowhere to say, "You seem different, in a good way. What did you do?" I didn't know how to answer her in a text because the answer was everything. Slowly, one 6 a.m. morning at a time. My mother called me one evening and said, "You sound like yourself again." And then, quietly, "Actually, I think you sound better than that." Month 23. Revenue crossed $6,000 for the first time. I remember sitting at my desk, my actual desk, in the small home office I'd set up with deliberate care, with a plant and a lamp I'd chosen, and a corkboard covered in my own goals. And I looked at the number and I thought, he told me I was a lot to handle. And I laughed. Not bitterly, just I laughed. And that's when everything started to change. Month 31. My business had cleared 6 figures in the previous 12 months. Not $1 million, not the kind of number that makes headlines, but 100,000 plus from my words, my skills, my vision, my work. Money that existed entirely because I had decided one October night, sitting in a dark living room on the floor, that I was done being the version of myself who made do. I was in therapy still, though we'd moved to bi-weekly sessions. I had a regular morning routine that had evolved into something I actually loved, rather than something I endured. I had a handful of deep friendships with people who saw and celebrated my actual self. I had a business that was growing. I had a life that felt, for the first time in my memory, like mine. And I had genuinely, truly, stopped thinking about Daniel. I want to be precise about this, because I think the glow-up genre sometimes implies that the transformation is motivated by the person who hurt you, that you're building your whole empire to wave in someone's face. And maybe some people do it that way. Maybe that works for some people. But here's what I found. The moment I stopped building for him, the moment I let go of the imaginary audience of his reaction, was the moment the building accelerated, because I wasn't spending any energy on the performance of transformation. I was just transforming. So when I walked into that rooftop bar on that Tuesday evening in month 31, I was not thinking about Daniel. I was with my friend Kazia, celebrating the fact she'd just landed a huge contract for her own business. We were celebrating her. I was wearing a dress I'd bought because I liked it, not because anyone would see me in it. I was laughing because the conversation was funny, not because I was performing being okay. And then I saw him. He looked the same, maybe slightly tired around the eyes. He was with a group of people I didn't recognize. And I genuinely watched the moment he recognized me. It happened in stages. First, the automatic, casual scan of a familiar face, then the double take, then the freeze. And here's what I felt. Nothing dramatic. No heart pounding, no urge to flee, no urge to confront. Just awareness. Oh, there he is.
Like running into a person you went to high school with. Someone who used to matter in the context they were from, but that context is so long ago and so far from where you are now that the feeling is more like nostalgia than anything else. He started walking toward me. I watched him calibrate. I watched him decide what face to put on. I could see him working out what version of this interaction he wanted to have. And I felt, and I need to say this carefully because I don't want it to sound like performance, I felt completely at peace. Not cold, not triumphant in the competitive sense, just settled, like water that's been disturbed for years and has finally gone still. He said, "Hey, oh my God, hi." I said, "Hey, Daniel." He said, and I want you to really take this in, he said, "You look incredible. I mean, you just look incredible. What have you been up to?" And I'm going to tell you the most honest thing about this moment. I felt no impulse whatsoever to impress him.
That might sound small, it is actually the everything. Because for 3 years, every conversation with him had been, on some level, an attempt to earn something, his attention, his approval, his decision to stay. And now, here he was, visibly taken aback by who I'd become, and I had absolutely zero interest in the prize. I said, "I've been well. I started my own business about 1.5 years ago. It's going really well." Simple, true, no performance. He said, "Wow, I heard something about that, I think. That's amazing. You should be really proud." And something flickered across his face. I want to describe it accurately without embellishing because I'm not trying to make him a villain here. It was recognition. He recognized, I could see it, what he'd had, what he'd not valued, what had walked out of his life not because it wasn't extraordinary, but because he hadn't paid enough attention to see that it was. He said, "Can I get you a drink? I'd love to catch up." And here's the part that surprised me. I didn't feel vengeful. I didn't feel a need to be cruel. I didn't have a sharp, devastating comeback lined up that would cut him down to size. I just didn't want to. Not because I'd forgiven him in some formal, processed way, though therapy had gotten me much closer to that than I'd expected, but because the conversation that would follow, the apology, the explanation, the attempting to close a loop that I'd already closed on my own time in my own way, just held no appeal. I said, "I'm actually celebrating my friend's big win tonight. Maybe another time." And I smiled. That real, full, I own this room smile. And I walked back to Kezia. I'm going to tell you what I thought about on the drive home that night. Not Daniel, not the look on his face, not the satisfaction of the encounter. I thought about the Tuesday night 3 years ago, the cold shower water, the empty feeling, the handwritten list of all the ways I'd been too much and not enough. And I thought about the distance between that night and this one. Not just in achievements, though those were real, not just in revenue, though that was real too, but in self. The version of me who existed on that bathroom floor would not have recognized the person who walked away from Daniel tonight with warmth and complete indifference. She would have wanted that recognition so badly it hurt. She would have crafted the perfect response, the devastating thing to say, the look designed to show him what he'd missed. The person I'd become didn't need any of that. Because here's what 3 years of quiet, private, relentless work teaches you. The opinion of someone who left you without looking back is not a referendum on your worth. It never was. About a week after the encounter, I got a text from Daniel. It said, "Hey, I know this is out of nowhere. I've thought about you a lot. I'm sorry for how I handled things. You deserved better." I read it once, and then I thought about it for about 30 seconds. Not about whether to respond, I was going to respond, but about what I actually wanted to say. Not what would be most devastating, not what would make him feel the fullest weight of what he'd done, what I actually, genuinely wanted to say. I wrote, "I appreciate you saying that. I'm in a really good place. I hope you are too." And I meant it. Both sentences, fully and completely. I wished him well, not because what he did was fine, but because the outcome of what he did, the path it cleared, the person I'd had to become without him, had given me something I would not trade for anything. He replied, "You seem really happy." I wrote back, "I am." And then I put my phone down and went back to the life I'd built. The realization, when it came fully, was this. This was never about him. It never had been. He was a catalyst, a loss that uncovered a necessity. The moment the door closed and I had no choice but to go looking for what was on the other side of it. But the person I'd found on that other side, that was not for him to see or not see, approve or not approve, regret or not regret. That person was for me. and for the people in my life who'd stayed and shown up and cheered from the beginning. And for every person who right now is sitting in a dark room with cold water running, reading a text that only has 6 words, wondering how they got here and whether it gets better. It gets better, not because the person who hurt you realizes what they threw away. That might happen, it might not. It doesn't actually matter. It gets better because you decide. One quiet decision made in private, made for yourself alone, and then another, and then another. And that's when everything starts to change. The best revenge is living well. You've heard that. I've heard that. It's on mugs and cross-stitch pillows and graduation speeches. And it's true, but only if we're honest about what it actually means. Because living well to impress someone who hurt you, to construct a life designed to be watched and regretted, that's still letting them write the story. Living well for yourself, building the morning routine that makes you feel like you own your day, doing the hard work to figure out what you actually want, not what you've been told to want, choosing relationships and environments that see and celebrate who you actually are, that is the transformation. That is the revenge that doesn't corrode you. So here's what I want to leave you with today. Practical, concrete, things you can start this week, not someday. Number 1, find the 6 a.m. Not necessarily literally 6 a.m. Find the hour that belongs entirely to you before the world makes claims on it. Guard it. Put 3 things in it: movement, reflection, learning. They don't have to be impressive, they have to be consistent. Number 2, write it down. Not to publish, not to perform. Open a document right now and write, what do I actually want? And then write the answer. Whatever comes up, however audacious, however small, write it down and don't delete it. Number 3, find one mirror that shows you who you're becoming. One community, one friend, one mentor, one space where your ambition isn't uncomfortable, where who you're becoming is celebrated rather than resented. You cannot transform alone. You need at least one mirror. Number 4, process the hurt without feeding the anger. Grief is real. What happened to you might have been genuinely unfair and genuinely cruel. Feel that. Get support for that. But do not build your transformation on top of anger, because anger is borrowed energy. It runs out, and then what's underneath it is the thing you actually have to reckon with. Build on something that's yours. Number 5, choose the comma. Every day, especially the days when you don't want to. The period wants to end the sentence. You choose, this is the comma. The story is still going. 3 years ago, I was on a bathroom floor trying to understand why I wasn't enough. Today, I run a 6-figure business. I have a life that feels like mine. I stood across from the person who ghosted me without a single ounce of need for him to see it or validate it or regret it. And the most important thing I can tell you is this: none of that was for him. It was for the girl on the bathroom floor. It was for you. If you're in the middle of it right now, if you're at the beginning, if you're in the hard, lonely, in-between place, I see you. I have been exactly where you are, and I need you to know the quiet work counts. The private decisions count. The 6 a.m. when nobody's watching counts. You are building something, even if you can't see it yet. Especially if you can't see it yet. What's your glow-up story? I genuinely, deeply want to know. Drop it in the comments, where you are right now, or where you started, or the moment you decided. I read every single one. This community is one of the best things I've built, and it exists because of you. If this video meant something to you, please share it with someone who needs it today. You probably know someone. We all know someone. And subscribe if you haven't. There's so much more of this. More stories, more tools, more of the honest, unfiltered conversation about what it actually takes to build a life that's yours. I love you. Take care of yourself. I'll see you in the next one.